What would you do if the two people you trusted most in the world were the ones sharpening the knife? I stared at the faint glow of my wife's phone on the nightstand, the screen casting a ghostly blue light on her sleeping face at 2 a.m. It was on T the first time I seen it light up with a message she'd ignore until morning, but this time a name I knew, as well as my own, flashed across the screen. Mark, my best friend. Cold dread, heavy and suffocating, settled in my gut. This wasn't just a late-night text. It was the key to a lock I was terrified to open. A door that once opened could never be closed again. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The text itself was innocent enough. You up? But it was the history that gave it weight. For weeks, Jessica had been distant, a stranger in our own home on North Clark Street in Chicago. The easy laughter we once shared had been replaced by a tense silence. Her excuses for late nights at her marketing firm becoming more frequent and less believable. She'd started dressing differently, her already expensive taste escalating to designer labels I knew we couldn't comfortably afford. When I'd ask, she'd just wave a dismissive hand. It's a work thing, honey. You have to look the part. She'd become cold, manipulative, her words like polished stones, smooth but hard. She and Mark, my friend since college, had started having lunches to discuss a supposed business idea. I'd even joked about it. You two are spending more time together than we are, I'd said, forcing a laugh. She didn't even look up from her phone. Don't be ridiculous. That night, seeing his name on her screen, the pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. The late nights, the new clothes, the private calls she'd take in the other room. They felt untouchable, wrapped in a bubble of arrogance and deceit. I felt a humiliation so profound it was physical, a burning in my chest that made it hard to breathe. I slid out of bed, my movements slow and deliberate, and went to my home office. The city lights of Chicago glittered below, indifferent to the implosion of my world. For a long time, I just stood there, watching the traffic flow like blood through the city's veins. Then the breakdown came. Not a loud screaming fit, but a silent, gut-wrenching sob that left me hollowed out, leaning against the cold glass of the window. My best friend, my wife. The betrayal was a two-headed snake, and it had sunk its fangs deep. But as the sun began to rise, casting long shadows across the polished hardwood floors of our apartment, the grief began to curdle into something else. Something cold, hard, and strategic. They thought I was a fool. They thought I was weak. They were about to find out how wrong they were. My revenge wouldn't be a single act of rage. It would be a slow, meticulous dismantling of their lives, built on a foundation of their own lies. The first step was proof. I installed a keylogger on our home computer and a voice-activated recorder in her car. I started tracking our joint credit card statements, highlighting every hotel bar, every expensive dinner for two, every purchase that didn't add up. The evidence piled up, a sickening testament to their affair. I found receipts from the Thompson Chicago, a hotel just a few miles from our home, 4 rooms booked on nights she was supposedly working late. I listened to recordings of their conversations, her voice, once the sweetest sound in the world to me, now dripping with contempt as she complained about my naivety. He has no idea, she'd laughed to Mark in one recording. He just believes whatever I tell him. With the proof secured on a password-protected hard drive, I moved to the next phase. I contacted a bulldog of a divorce lawyer, a man known in Chicago legal circles for his scorched earth tactics. I laid out the evidence, and he smiled a predator's smile. We discovered that Jessica had been siphoning money from our joint savings account into a private one. My lawyer advised me to quietly move my own inheritance into a protected trust, leaving our joint accounts nearly empty. The social trap was next. Jessica's parents were hosting their 40th anniversary party in a grand ballroom at the Drake Hotel. It was the perfect stage. Everyone would be their family, friends, her influential colleagues. The week before the party, I played my part. I was the doting husband, even suggesting we buy her parents an extravagant gift. She and Mark grew even more smug, convinced they were getting away with it. I saw them exchange a knowing glance at a family dinner, a small, shared smile that felt like a knife in my ribs. The night of the party arrived. The ballroom was opulent, filled with flowers and the soft glow of chandeliers. Jessica was radiant in a new dress, the one I'd found the receipt for. Purchased on a day she was supposed to be at a conference in Miami. Mark was there, of course clapping me on the back and calling me brother. The hypocrisy was staggering. During the toasts, I stood up, champagne flute in hand. I spoke of love, of loyalty, of 40 years of commitment. Then my tone shifted. "But commitment," I said, my voice dropping as a hush fell over the room, "is a fragile thing." I looked directly at Jessica, whose smile was beginning to falter. "And betrayal is a poison that ruins everything it touches." On cue, a massive screen behind the band flickered to life. It wasn't the photo montage of her parents everyone was expecting. It was a slideshow. It's a text message exchange between her and Mark, planning their next tryst. A photo of them kissing in a hotel lobby, taken by a private investigator. A bank statement from her secret account. The room was utterly silent, the only sound the soft click of the changing slides. The final image was a close-up of the hotel receipt from the Thompson. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. Her father, a man I respected, looked at her with pure disgust. Her mother burst into tears. Her colleagues stared, their faces a mixture of shock and pity. Jessica stood frozen, her face a mask of horror, while Mark simply vanished into the crowd like the coward he was. The next day, he was fired from his job. His boss was at the party. My lawyer filed for divorce, citing adultery with the mountain of evidence we had. Because of the infidelity clause in our prenup and her fraudulent use of our joint funds, she got nothing. Her reputation was destroyed, her family was ashamed, and her social circle evaporated overnight. She was ruined completely and utterly by her own actions. Months later, I saw her once. She was working as a waitress in a small diner out in the suburbs, a place far from the glittering world she once inhabited. She looked tired, worn down, the arrogance gone, replaced by a hollowed-out emptiness. Our eyes met for a fleeting second across the crowded room. There was no anger left in me, no hatred. Just a vast, cold quiet. I turned and walked out, leaving her to the life she had chosen. Some nights I still wake up at 2 a.m., but the screen on the nightstand is always dark now. The end.